Yeah, truth is, most of us probably avoid certain foods because we simply don't like the way they taste. But even if we're told that they're healthy, there are many foods on the market that will taste great but still contain ingredients that are potentially hazardous to your health.
Have you ever looked at your grocery cart and quietly wondered if everything in it is really good for you? Back when food was simpler, most of us never had to second guess what we packed into school lunches or served at the dinner table. But what if some of the foods we trust the most are quietly doing more harm than good? Today at the Hidden Menu, we take a deep dive into what nutritionists say we should stop eating. So let us start with 1. Breakfast cereal that claims to be healthy. There was a time when pouring cereal into a bowl felt like a kind of ritual. A quiet moment before the rush of the day. Just you, the box, and that splash of cold milk. And for decades, we trusted what was printed on the front of the box. Words like heart healthy, whole grain, and low fat made it sound like the best way to start the morning. But for many brands sitting on grocery shelves today, those promises hide a very different reality. Many popular cereals, even the ones not coated in marshmallows, contain high levels of added sugars, artificial flavoring, and refined grains. One dietitian described it as morning dessert in disguise. It is not just the brightly colored kids' cereals either. Grown-up boxes, the ones with pictures of wheat stalks or smiling joggers, often carry as much sugar per serving as a frosted donut. And the portion sizes? Most people pour 2 to 3 times what the label lists without even realizing it. Former food scientists have shared that certain brands use a technique called flavor masking, blending artificial vanilla, salt, and sweeteners to make processed grains taste more natural than they are. That combination can cause blood sugar spikes followed by energy crashes, something that becomes even more noticeable as we age. For seniors managing blood pressure, diabetes, or heart issues, those hidden sugars and sodium levels can quietly work against every goal set at the doctor's office. But the box still says it is healthy. That is the part that stings. Because many of us remember a time when breakfast cereal was a symbol of trust, something we poured for our children or ate as a treat on weekends. What was once simple has become something engineered, designed more for shelf life and sales than nourishment. And yet, the tradition continues. Most folks never stop to question what they are really eating at the kitchen table. But if a meal marketed as healthy starts your day with more sugar than a candy bar, maybe it is time to read the back of the box a little more closely. 2. Frozen diet meals with a light label. They are stacked neatly in the freezer aisle, wrapped in tidy little boxes that promise less fat, fewer calories, and guilt-free eating. For busy folks, especially older adults living alone, these meals can seem like a perfect solution. Heat and eat. No mess, no waste, no measuring. But just because something is low in calories does not mean it is good for you. Many frozen diet meals are heavily processed, loaded with preservatives, and low in the actual nutrients your body needs. Nutritionists have pointed out that what you are getting is often a small portion of overcooked vegetables, heavily salted sauces, and protein that has been restructured for texture rather than quality. Former factory workers have described meat patties arriving as frozen blends, shaped with additives to mimic the chew of real cuts. And what looks like steam-fresh broccoli may have been blanched, frozen, dyed, and reheated more times than you care to know. The real issue, though, is that these meals often leave you feeling unsatisfied. They are low in fiber, low in healthy fats, and high in sodium and synthetic flavoring. You might eat one, still feel hungry, and end up reaching for a snack to fill the gap, canceling out the calorie savings the box promised in the first place. One retired nurse shared that after switching to these meals, her blood pressure actually went up, even though she was eating fewer calories overall. And yet, the branding works, because we have been told that eating light is the goal. That small means smart. But nutritionists warn that the long-term impact of these meals can be fatigue, inflammation, and even muscle loss, especially dangerous for seniors who need protein and nutrients to maintain strength and balance. What you are left with is a microwavable illusion. It feels like you are doing something good. But if a healthy dinner leaves you tired, bloated, or reaching for more food, maybe it is not as healthy as it seems. 3. Bottled fruit juices that say 100%. There is something comforting about the word juice. It brings back memories of orange slices at halftime, tall glasses at breakfast, or little juice boxes tucked into school lunches. And when a bottle says 100% juice, most folks take that at face value. But not all juices are created equal, and some can quietly do more harm than good. The issue is not just about what is in the bottle, it is what is not. When fruit is pressed into juice, most of the fiber is stripped away. What you are left with is concentrated sugar, even in the absence of added sweeteners. Nutritionists have explained that a glass of apple juice can contain the sugar equivalent of 3 or 4 apples, but without the fiber that helps your body process it slowly. That means a fast spike in blood sugar followed by a crash. For seniors managing diabetes or insulin sensitivity, that crash is not just inconvenient, it is risky. Some brands also use a process called flavor packing, where the juice is stored so long that natural aromas fade, so artificial flavors are re-added to mimic freshness. It still says 100% juice, but by the time it hits your fridge, it is more chemistry than citrus. One former plant worker described orange juice arriving as frozen concentrate that was later mixed with flavor oils and water to recreate that just squeezed taste. And then there is portion size. Most folks pour a tall glass thinking it is healthy, but the nutrition label is often based on just 8 ounces. That larger pour can deliver more sugar than a can of soda, especially in grape or tropical blends. The label does not lie, but it does not tell the whole story either. We trust juice because it reminds us of simpler times. But if something marketed as natural leaves you feeling sluggish or puts a dent in your blood sugar control, it might be time to squeeze something else into your morning routine. 4. Packaged granola bars that pretend to be nutritious. Granola bars used to feel like nature in a wrapper, something you could toss in your purse or glove box and feel good about eating on the go. They still carry that image: earth tones, pictures of oats and nuts, maybe even a hiker on the box. But most modern granola bars have quietly become closer to candy bars in disguise. Many are made with refined grains, sweet syrups, and hydrogenated oils that hold everything together. The oats may be real, but they are often sugar glazed or baked with corn syrup. Some brands contain chocolate chips, yogurt coatings, or fruit paste that deliver a heavy dose of sugar in a small package. One nutritionist said, "If it has a frosting, it is a dessert, not a snack." But that frosting is often marketed as a yogurt drizzle. Former factory workers have described production lines where bars are formed with industrial sweeteners and pressed to hold shape, not for freshness, but for shipment. And some bars that claim 5 grams of protein or whole grains still contain multiple forms of sugar, sometimes listed under different names like brown rice syrup, fructose, or maltodextrin. For older adults trying to manage blood sugar or maintain energy between meals, these bars can backfire. They give a quick burst of energy followed by a slump. And if you are trying to lose weight, they can sabotage progress, because most people eat them in addition to meals, not instead of them. It is not that all bars are bad, but when a snack that looks healthy is loaded with sugar, low-quality fats, and hidden calories, the result is more marketing than nourishment, and that's something worth chewing on. 5. Deli meats that appear fresh but aren't. There is something reliable about walking up to the deli counter. You order a few slices, watch them weigh the meat, and feel like you are getting something fresher than the pre-packaged stuff. But what most folks do not realize is that many deli meats, even the ones cut fresh in front of you, are already processed, preserved, and loaded with ingredients that can quietly undermine your health. Nutritionists warn that common deli meats like ham, turkey, roast beef, and salami often contain nitrates, nitrites, and other chemical preservatives that extend shelf life but have raised concerns in medical research. These additives help preserve color and flavor, but they can contribute to inflammation, and in some cases, long-term exposure has been linked to increased cancer risk, especially in processed red meats. One former deli clerk shared that meats arrived in vacuum-sealed bags, pre-flavored and treated, only to be sliced to order for the illusion of freshness. Low-sodium or natural labels can be misleading too. Some natural deli meats are still cured using celery powder, a natural source of nitrates that has the same effect on your body as synthetic ones. And reduced sodium varieties often still contain enough salt to push a single sandwich close to your recommended daily limit, especially for those with high blood pressure or kidney concerns. Beyond that, the meat itself is sometimes formed from multiple cuts bound together with starches and binding agents to maintain shape. If you have ever noticed a strange jelly-like edge or uneven texture that is not your imagination, it is the result of processing designed to keep things neat for the slicer, not clean for your body. We buy deli meat because it feels convenient and familiar. But sometimes familiarity is the very thing that keeps us from asking questions. And if what you are slicing into sandwiches every week carries more chemicals than nutrients, it might be time to take a second look at what fresh really means. 6. Canned soups that promise comfort. There's something deeply familiar about opening a can of soup. The sound of the lid popping, the warm smell on the stove, maybe even the feeling of being taken care of when you were sick as a child. And for many, it still feels like comfort in a bowl. But beneath the nostalgia, most canned soups today hide more salt, sugar, and filler than anyone would expect. Even the classic varieties, chicken noodle, tomato, beef barley, are often loaded with sodium levels that go far beyond what a healthy adult needs in a single meal. Some cans contain more than 1,000 milligrams of salt per serving, and the servings are usually smaller than what people actually eat. Finish the whole can, and you could be downing nearly your entire day's recommended intake. For older adults managing blood pressure or heart conditions, that hidden load can quietly make things worse over time. And that is just the start. Many canned soups use flavor enhancers like monosodium glutamate and autolyzed yeast extract, which mimic the taste of slow-cooked stock without any real bones or herbs. Some versions rely on cornstarch, flour, and sugar to thicken up thin broth and give it a more homemade texture. One former food production worker described mixing massive vats of base powder with water and colorants, designed more for visual appeal than real nourishment. The vegetables are often from frozen stock, boiled soft during processing, and reheated again when you open the can. By the time you eat them, most of the vitamins are long gone. And while the label may say made with real chicken, that often means small shredded pieces from factory cuts, not hearty chunks from a full breast or thigh. We reach for soup because it feels like the right thing. But when a meal that once healed now comes with a heavy dose of preservatives, salt, and synthetic flavors, it is worth asking if that comfort is still doing its job. 7. Instant noodles that pretend to be a meal. Late nights, tight budgets, and quiet moments alone, instant noodles have been there for all of it. They are the kind of food that brings back entire eras of our lives with one whiff of that salty steam. And they still line shelves from grocery stores to gas stations, promising a full bowl of flavor in just a few minutes. But most people have no idea what is actually hiding inside those packets. Nutritionists say instant noodles are one of the most misleading foods on the shelf. They may fill your stomach, but they offer little in the way of actual nourishment. The noodles are flash fried in oil to preserve shelf life, often using palm oil high in saturated fats. The seasoning packets are full of salt, artificial flavors, and chemical preservatives like tertiary butyl hydroquinone, a compound banned in some countries for its potential health risks in large quantities. It does not take much to see the effects. One retired woman said she relied on instant noodles for months while recovering from surgery. They were easy, cheap, and comforting, but her doctor warned that her blood pressure had climbed dangerously high. She switched to home-cooked meals and it slowly returned to normal. Beyond sodium and fat, instant noodles are also low in fiber and protein, which means you feel full for a moment, then hungry again shortly after. And the portion sizes are deceptive. A single brick of noodles often contains 2 servings, so most people end up eating double the numbers on the nutrition label without realizing it. Former food factory workers have explained how the flavors are engineered in labs, created not for nourishment, but to keep you coming back for another packet. Spicy chicken, creamy shrimp, teriyaki beef, it is more chemistry than cooking. The result is something that feels satisfying but leaves your body needing more. We eat them for the memories, for the ease, for the price. But instant comfort often comes with a long-term cost. 8. Healthy muffins that might as well be cake. There is something reassuring about buying a muffin instead of a donut. It feels like the better choice, the grown-up option, the thing you grab when you want a little indulgence without all the guilt. But most muffins sold in grocery stores and coffee shops are closer to dessert than breakfast, and the health halo they wear is often just clever packaging. Many muffins labeled as bran, whole grain, or low fat still contain shockingly high amounts of sugar and refined flour. Some even have more sugar than a slice of chocolate cake. The fruit inside is often sweetened further with syrups or dried concentrates, and the oils used to keep muffins moist on shelves can be the same ones found in packaged snack cakes. One former bakery employee shared that the blueberry muffins arrived frozen with artificial flavor and pre-sweetened berries. More chemistry than berries by the time they hit the oven. Nutritionists point out that because muffins are dense and served in large portions, people often underestimate how much they are eating. A single Morning Glory muffin from a popular chain can contain over 400 calories and more than 30 grams of sugar, numbers that rival fast food desserts. And yet people choose them because the label says made with oats or source of fiber? For seniors watching blood sugar or trying to maintain a steady weight, these muffins can become a silent saboteur. They spike energy levels early in the day, then drop them just as fast, leading to fatigue, hunger, and cravings. And unlike a balanced breakfast with protein and fiber, muffins rarely leave you satisfied for long. We grew up thinking a muffin was a wholesome start, but when the ingredient list looks like a pastry's and the sugar content rivals cake, maybe it is time to rethink what qualifies as breakfast. If you have found any of this familiar or frustrating, feel free to give this video a thumbs up, share your story in the comments, and subscribe so you never miss what's really behind the label. 9. Microwave popcorn that comes with a hidden cost. It is the sound of Friday nights, family movie marathons, or a little moment to yourself. Microwave popcorn feels harmless, just corn, heat, and a bit of butter flavor. But most of the bags on store shelves come with a chemical cocktail that nutritionists say is quietly problematic, especially when eaten often. The bag lining itself is part of the problem. To prevent grease from soaking through, many brands coat the inside with perfluorinated compounds, also known as PFCs. These chemicals have been linked to health issues over long exposure and have been slowly phased out in some products. But depending on where it is made and how old the package is, that lining may still be present. One former factory technician shared that older inventory often circulates for years in discount stores or vending suppliers. Then there is the flavoring. That butter is rarely butter at all, but a mix of oils and a synthetic compound called diacetyl. Inhaling diacetyl fumes in large amounts, especially when the bag is opened right after popping, has been linked to respiratory concerns in factory settings. And while the risk is lower at home, it still raises questions when used regularly in poorly ventilated spaces. The kernels themselves are often coated in salt, palm oil, and artificial colors to enhance both flavor and appearance. Some versions labeled light or natural still contain significant sodium and stabilizers to improve shelf life. Nutritionists say the cumulative effect is small but steady. Extra sodium, chemicals, and additives that add up over time without adding any nutritional value. Popcorn can be a healthy snack when made at home, with real oil and simple salt. But the version in a bag meant to be zapped and eaten without thought tells a different story. What we think of as comfort food may be a little too comfortable for its own good. 10. Store-bought smoothies that say no sugar added. It is easy to feel like you are making a smart choice when you grab a smoothie from the cold case. The label says no sugar added. The colors are bright and natural, and there is a picture of fruit on the front. But most bottled smoothies are more marketing than nutrition, and what is left out matters just as much as what is put in. The key issue is concentration. These drinks often contain multiple servings of fruit, blended down into a single high-calorie, high-sugar bottle. Even without added sugars, the natural fruit sugars become concentrated in a way that spikes blood glucose more rapidly than eating the fruit whole. One nutritionist described it as drinking dessert through a straw. Then there is the fiber. In most bottled smoothies, it is either stripped away during blending or removed entirely during pasteurization to extend shelf life. That means what you are left with is sweet but not satisfying. You feel like you are drinking something healthy, but your body processes it like a sugary drink. Quick energy followed by a slump. Some brands sneak in cheaper filler juices like apple or pear to bulk out flavor without improving nutrition. And green smoothies sometimes rely on powdered spirulina or a dash of spinach juice. Concentrate to look healthy, even though the dominant ingredients are banana and pineapple. A retired dietitian shared that she used to drink bottled smoothies on the way to work, believing they were better than breakfast. After tracking her blood sugar for a month, she realized they were having the same impact as soda. She switched to making her own with frozen berries, oats, and yogurt, and the difference was clear in her energy and appetite. The label does not always lie, but it does not always tell the whole truth. And when something feels too convenient to be healthy, it is worth a second glance. 11. Flavored yogurts that are practically pudding. There was a time when yogurt felt like a health food. A little cup of it in the morning or as a snack, and you could feel like you were doing something good for your body. But most of the flavored yogurts lining supermarket shelves today are so packed with sugar, starches, and additives that they have more in common with pudding than with anything you would find in a health clinic. Many flavored yogurts contain up to 20 grams of sugar per serving, sometimes more than a glazed donut. Even those that say fruit on the bottom often use sweetened preserves, not fresh fruit, and they are thickened with modified cornstarch or pectin to give a creamy texture. Nutritionists warn that these sugars can quickly cancel out the potential benefits of probiotics, especially for seniors managing blood sugar or weight. What's more, low-fat or fat-free versions tend to replace fat with more sweeteners and stabilizers. One former dairy plant worker shared that artificial flavors and powdered milk solids were commonly added to maintain the same mouthfeel without actually improving nutritional content. It is yogurt that tastes like dessert, but wears a health label. Even so-called Greek-style yogurts are not all created equal. Some are not made through traditional straining, but through thickeners like gelatin or cream powder to mimic the texture. And while plain, unsweetened yogurt can be a strong source of protein and gut-friendly cultures, the flavored varieties often offer more sugar than strength. For older adults trying to eat smarter, flavored yogurt can feel like a compromise, a little indulgence that still feels responsible. But when the label starts to read like a dessert recipe, it is worth thinking twice before making it part of your daily routine. 12. Salad dressings that undo the whole salad. You try to do the right thing. A fresh salad, some crisp greens, maybe a few chopped vegetables, light, clean, and good for you. But then you reach for the bottle of dressing, and that quiet choice turns into something else entirely, because many store-bought dressings, even the ones marked light or organic, can quietly transform a healthy meal into something far heavier than it looks. Nutritionists say that creamy dressings like ranch, Caesar, and blue cheese often carry high levels of saturated fat, added sugars, and sodium. But even vinaigrettes can be sneaky. Some use soybean oil or other low-quality fats as a base, then layer in the corn syrup and emulsifiers to create that perfect pour. One former food lab technician explained that many commercial dressings are chemically adjusted to survive months on the shelf without separating. The serving size is usually listed as 2 tablespoons, but most people pour 2 or 3 times that without realizing it, especially with thinner dressings that don't seem heavy. That means you could be adding hundreds of calories, grams of sugar, and more sodium than you meant to right onto the thing you chose to be healthy. Fat-free versions are not always better. They often rely on artificial sweeteners, starches, or gums to maintain thickness. And the fat that is removed is often the very thing that helps your body absorb fat-soluble vitamins from the salad itself. In other words, you are eating a salad for nutrients, but the dressing may block your ability to absorb them. Many dietitians now suggest making your own with olive oil, vinegar, mustard, and herbs. But for people used to the ease of a bottle, that feels like a hassle, so the compromise continues. We reach for something bottled and easy, something we trust. And with every salad, we quietly undo some of the good we were trying to do in the first place. 13. Energy bars that do more harm than good. They sit next to the checkout line and line the health food aisle. Packed in shiny wrappers with names like Power, Fuels, or Balance, they promise strength and focus in one neat little bite. And for seniors trying to keep energy up on busy days or long walks, they seem like a smart snack. But many energy bars on the market today are anything but. What most people do not see is how many of these bars are built around sugar and fillers. Nutritionists have compared some to candy bars in disguise, high in calories, low in real nutrition. The protein often comes from processed sources like soy isolates or whey concentrate, not whole foods. And the energy? It usually comes from sugar, sometimes 3 or 4 different types, blended to hit quickly and wear off just as fast. Some bars are also loaded with sugar alcohols like maltitol or erythritol, which can cause bloating or digestive upset, especially for older adults with sensitive stomachs. One retired teacher shared that she started eating a popular energy bar every afternoon to avoid coffee, but began noticing headaches and stomach cramps. When she stopped, the symptoms eased within a week. Many bars also contain added caffeine, often hidden in natural ingredients like green tea extract or guarana. That can be a problem for seniors managing heart conditions or blood pressure, especially if the label does not clearly state how much is inside. Former supplement workers have said some manufacturers intentionally underreport caffeine amounts to stay under regulatory limits, making it even harder to track what you are actually getting. It is not that all energy bars are bad, but the ones that shout the loudest from the shelf often have the most to hide. For something meant to fuel your body, that's a quiet problem no one warns you about until it is too late. 14. Vegetable chips that are no better than regular ones. They look healthier. The bag says, made with real vegetables, and the colors feel natural. Deep beet red, sweet potato orange, a little hint of sea salt. For folks trying to snack smarter, vegetable chips feel like the right choice. But more often than not, they are just potato chips in disguise. Many vegetable chips are made with root vegetables like taro, beet, and parsnip, but that does not mean they are any better for you. Most are sliced thin, deep-fried in oil, and dusted with salt, just like standard chips. The nutrient value of the original vegetable is often lost in the cooking process, especially when exposed to high heat for crisping. What remains is mostly starch and fat, with just enough color to convince your eyes you're eating something wholesome. Some brands use powdered vegetable blends to coat regular chips, creating the illusion of variety without using whole vegetables at all. And the phrase "made with" on the front of the bag? It can legally apply even if the vegetable content is just a tiny fraction of the total ingredients. A former snack food developer once said, "If it tastes like a chip, crunches like a chip, and keeps you reaching into the bag, then it is a chip." For seniors watching salt intake, these snacks can be particularly deceptive. A handful can contain over 200 milligrams of sodium, and the light, airy texture makes it easy to eat far more than a typical serving. The flavors, honey beet, garden medley, sea salt, sweet potato, sound natural but are often enhanced with sugar and lab-made seasonings. It is not that you cannot enjoy a crunchy snack now and then, but when something calls itself healthier, just because it is made with carrots instead of corn, that label may be doing more heavy lifting than the food itself. If any of this brought back memories or made you take a second look at your own pantry, leave a note in the comments. Give this video a thoughtful like and subscribe to the hidden menu so you never eat in the dark again. And remember, the truth is not always on the menu.